This is the first part in our series on setting up in Student Manager. And if you'd like any overviews on anything, please go to our linked help documents, and it will show you different aspects of the system. You can go to our overview section to get overviews of the system, or go into our using Student Manager section of the system, which will assist you to use different features or aspects of the system. So when you come into the system for the first time, before the concern of additional staff members and their access and getting your learners into the system, it's good to create the framework. So the framework here would either be that you're setting up a full learning program, which we call a qualification, or a shorter learning program, which we refer to as a short course. So if you had a program that only had a single course, it's basically the equivalent of a single course or module, and it could last up to 6 months, but they're going to focus on a single lot of content or body of content, then you'd use short courses. But if you were going to do a bigger learning program that articulates, so you go from one learning level into the next until you reach a final outcome, which could be a year or two down the road, then you'd use qualifications. So for my purposes, we are going to focus on qualifications. So once you've logged into Student Manager and you have been given access rights to be able to work in the qualification section of the system, select qualifications. So you'll see in this instance there are no other qualifications. There's none listed here, so there's no qualifications yet, so we're going to add a new one. So we select add new qualification. And there are different aspects to adding a new qualification. So just to recap, it was qualifications, this tab will load by default, and it was add new qualification. So the first section goes around whether the program is accredited or not, and what are the subdivisions for that accreditation. So it contains those aspects, as well as what the name of this particular qualification is going to be. So I'm going to call this a test qualification. It would be whatever the learning program is in your environment. So there's different options here. So I'm going to, this is in case this comes up when it doesn't come up for you. The browser that I'm using remembers text that goes into the different fields. So because of that, it brings up this. So if you're working in a site that doesn't use autofill, that won't appear there. I'm using a Chromium based browser. Okay, so I'm going to call this test qualification. As you can see, it's in all my other ones. So it's a test qualification, or let's just call it instead of test qualification, something better will be learning program A. Okay, so now name is the name you want to refer to it internally. So you may have a legacy name or a name that is more common in your institution that you refer to a particular learning program. Name on report is the official registered name of that particular program. So for example, the name could be learning program A, but the name on reports could be this could be a test learning program. When people come to your site, if you use Student Manager for your queries, if they come to your site and they want to look it up there, we could say be more descriptive and call it so then you know that they are looking to study the full-time version of your learning program. Okay, on an application form can be the same name as reports, but we could just say full-time, for example, and I'll just call it LPA. Grade symbol range are just different things that you can set up. This is in settings, but it allows you to customize the rules that the system will use to look at the progression for your particular learner. So the next thing is the learning level. So because this is developed in South African context, if you're in a different context, let us know and we'll be able to add the levels for your environment. So yeah, the NQF level is a national qualifications framework, and each of these are different learning levels. So you have levels 1 to 3, which are sort of foundation, level 4, which could be high school leaving qualification, level 5 would be a national certificate, level 6 could be something like a national diploma, level 7 will be something like a bachelor's degree, level 8 could be honors, 8 and above, or above 8 you'd use for your master's and doctorate programs. So for our purposes, we're going to say this is an NQF1 course. Subdomain CSIM 1 and CSIM 2, or if you're registered with a qualifications authority in South Africa, or you have a QA body in your environment or your country, you're able to specify the subdomain that it exists in. You can also leave these blank if you're just setting up a program that's non-accredited, but if you need to do submissions at any stage to a qualifications authority, it's best that you fill these out. And again, if anything's missing from these, you can contact us and let us know what you need to display for your environment. So we have a subdomain, and we could say that the subdomain here is it's going to be a little off screen. I'm going to choose undefined, and I'm going to also say that because it's not quite anything, I'll make this I'll just make it that kind of a course. Okay, so I've chosen NQF1, so I'm just going to make this a national certificate program. Okay, so that's the first part. So we now have a context for this particular qualification, and if we need to report on it, we know that we're able to pull through the right information to reference it. In Student Manager, we've catered for cases where institutions may not have a website or the resources to create a page that can display what their course offerings are, and also a method of accessing the course. So what we've done is we've created what we call a prospectus summary. This allows you to use tables, different types of font, different types of text formatting, You can link to files to download. So you could link to a file to download, or you could have an image that you want to place there. For our purposes, I'm just going to say that in terms of the text, I'll just say that this is where we place the prospectus summary. Okay, so once somebody reads the summary, they can then look at it and say, okay, I want more information, and there'll be a more button. So when they click on the more button, they'll get to a section called prospectus detail. So the purpose of prospectus detail is that it's there for a person to get any information that they need before they start the application process. So yeah, could be any final terms and conditions, or things relating to previous knowledge or skill level or learning level that they should have in order to effectively access this course, so that they have this final lot of data or content that they can consume before saying, yes, I want to apply for this learning program. So for this, I'm just going to put the same thing. This is where we place okay. So with that, we've now set up our qualification. So we have this course. Okay, so we haven't set up access to it, this course or learning program. Let's, for simplicity's sake, stick to learning program. So we've created this learning program, but we have not specified how someone would access this particular learning program. So in terms of setting that up, I'm going to do that in our next video, where we will cover these three aspects of the system. So yes, they can be presented separately. So I'm only going to do one aspect of application setup, which is setting up an intake. And then we'll do the curriculum and campuses. So in our next one, we will go on to briefly what campuses are, and we'll spend more time on the curriculum and module setup. And we'll end it by showing how they link to an intake, but that isn't everything in application setup. So in our next video, we'll have campuses and curriculum. Please look at the links below this video so that you can go through any learning material we have available on our site that relates to adding a qualification. Okay. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you have found it useful.